Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me formally welcome you to Sidron Nigeria Limited-EDI, our training batch 33. I hope you all rested very well over the night. And I do hope that you are ready for the 1 week session with us. If you are, then let me say it's a pleasure to have you on our program for this week. And we do hope that our interaction will be fruitful and to be beneficial to all of us. You will be learning from us and we'll equally be learning from you. We want as much as possible for the program to be interactive. So as we go along the way, we will be breaking it intermittently so that you can be able to ask your questions and then be able to make some contributions. Yeah, already I can see Mr. Adekunle Adeyemo's hand raised. Is there anything that we can do for you immediately now? You want to unmute your mic? You can unmute your mic and let's hear you, Mr. Adeyemo. Unmute your mic and then enable him to unmute his mic. Mr. Adeyemo, we are waiting for you. Unmute your mic and then talk to us. We can't hear you. Unmute your mic. Your mic is muted. Okay. If you have any problem, you can also go on the chat box and then you can raise any question you want. In case you have any question you want to raise, go to the chat box and then you make your comment. Is that okay? Go to the chat box and then you can make your comment. All right. Having said that, let me formally welcome you to our EDI. We will be having you for the next 5 days. And we do hope that in the course of this interaction, you will all be able to learn from each other effectively. I will normally start our lectures with a pre-lecture quiz, which we have posted on the training platform, the WhatsApp training platform earlier. Unfortunately, Mr. Adeyemo is one individual who we were not able to register on the platform, so had to be attending to him privately on his own WhatsApp account. We posted, we sent the quiz also to him, so we do hope that you are also able to attend to it. You can screenshot your scores and then let us have it on your private box. Whatever it is that we are chatting on the general platform, we'll also make sure that we'll forward a copy to you. It has never happened before for anybody to exit the group and then when he wants to come back, we are unable to do that. We normally are able to do that. Somebody left also earlier, just about the same time with you, but we were able to get him back on course. So I don't know why yours is very, very peculiar. Each time we try it, they said you had existed and we cannot get you back. You know, it's quite an unusual situation because we haven't experienced that before. Right. Okay, so we like to start our lectures normally with the picture that you can see before you now on your screen. For us, it's always a marker for us. And one of the reasons why we encourage people to come on this program to try and run this course And of course, it is that you should never rely only on your salary as your means of livelihood. Because as we say, if your salary is your only source of income, you are just one step away from poverty, which is to suggest that whether you are a public sector employee or a private sector employee, the advice is that you shouldn't rely on just one source of income. Don't just be reliant on your salary from wherever source it is it's coming from. The advice is that you should look for multiple sources of income. That's the one way you'll be able to sustain yourself effectively, to be able to meet all of the expectations of you as an individual. We know the current situation, which has been confounded by the COVID pandemic. Inflation is biting hard. The minimum wage of 30,000 naira is as negligent as it possibly could be. Not many people will definitely be able to live on that. If you are paying rent, how much are you going to pay? Transportation, feeding, and all of those things. So the challenge always is that, look, do not rely on only one source of income. Even if you are earning ₦1 million a month, you still need to, because you find that at that salary level, your own expenditure profile will also be very different, and of course you always need some kind of augmentation. So that's the advice we like to give, and I want to believe that even before coming on this program, you had taken that advice to heart, because coming on this program means that you also want to seek some other means of income, and one of the means of income, of course, is starting your own business, your own enterprise, something that you could bring additional income for you, different from what you currently are doing, that is bringing whatever income that it is that you are earning. So that's the advice we like to give. Right. Having given this advice, we will now go to the main subject of the day. Right. The main subject, of course, is entrepreneurship and skills acquisition for Agsmeis. Entrepreneurship and skills acquisition for Agsmeis. The training that we are providing is entrepreneurship training. Normally, NISA Microfinance Bank and most of such programs, really, what you find is they talk about vocational training and then entrepreneurship training. Vocational trainings are normally hands-on skills training, but entrepreneurship training, of course, is a little bit different. That one presents to you management of enterprises, how you manage your enterprise, how you start and manage your enterprises for purposes of profitability. So that is essentially what we are taking you on. NISA Microfinance Bank wants us to provide you with entrepreneurship training to teach you how to manage your business, how to start your business, how to manage it all the way down. So if we are going to present a course on entrepreneurship, it then behoves on us, as it were, to start by laying the foundation on entrepreneurship. What is entrepreneurship? Okay, who is an entrepreneur? What does an entrepreneur do? Okay, what skills are required for entrepreneurship? You want to start a business, what things are you looking out for? What do you need to know? What skills do you require? How do you source the money for it? Okay, what kind of things are you looking out for? Okay, why do you set up a particular kind of business within a given environment and not the other type? So all of these things are what we will look out for when we present, we lay the foundation. By laying this foundation, and then of course in the subsequent days we'll build on it. Okay, after presenting what entrepreneurship is all about and the rest of those things, then subsequently in the subsequent days we'll now follow up with feasibility studies. You want to start a business, you should do a feasibility studies. Okay, you should have a business plan, a plan that you require to be able to run your business. Okay, and then of course you have to look at financial planning. Okay, you plan your finances. Okay, how do you manage your business? What kind of records do you keep? Bookkeeping is essential. How do you keep the records of accounts? Okay, when you earn income, how do you deploy it? What is it that goes into your savings account? What is it that goes into operation purposes? All of those things are things we look at. Then, of course, another course we'll be looking at is sales strategies and then effective marketing. Okay, as you are producing, you need to sell the items that you produce. You need to market them. What strategies are you going to adopt? How do you source for the market? Where is the market located? All of these things are things that you need to look at when you are running your own business. And then, of course, finally, we will look at business law. Okay, how do you register a company? Okay, how do you register a company? Compliance requirements. You want to do business in any environment in Nigeria today, there are certain requirements that you have to comply with. Okay, so the compliance requirement that are essential for you to be able to run a business. All of these things are things that this course will put you, the entire training will put you through for this week. So starting with entrepreneurship, then subsequent days, every other day we'll be taking one of each of these courses, topics that I just mentioned. Okay, so for today, we're starting with entrepreneurship. Okay, but before we do that, let's look at the training objectives. What are the objectives of this particular topic? First and foremost, understanding the Agsmeis loan scheme. What is the Agsmeis loan scheme? I want to believe we are all familiar with the Agsmeis loan scheme, or rather, I want to believe that you've come across the word Agsmeis before, because that is the scheme, that is the loan scheme that you are trying to assess. It's the scheme that is providing the loan for you to be able to access to do your own business. So Agsmeis loan is called the Agsmeis loan. Okay, so we'll break down for you what Agsmeis is all about, what it entails, how we came about it, and what it seeks to do. Okay. Then, of course, secondly, is to expose participants to the objectives, components, and processes of achieving the goals of Agsmeis. Okay, what are the objectives of Agsmeis? What are the components? What are the processes? Okay, then, of course, understand the concept of entrepreneurship. What is entrepreneurship? Who is an entrepreneur? What does an entrepreneur do? Okay, then to expose participants to the skills required for entrepreneurship. What are those skills you require for entrepreneurship? If you want to start a business, what are the things you are looking for? Okay, you come to an environment, you want to establish a business, what kind of thing are you looking for? Why do you want to do that kind of business in that environment? How is the business going to be successful within that environment? How sustainable is it going to be? So these are the things that you will naturally be looking at when you want to start your own business. And then to prepare participants for a life of entrepreneurship. We always like to say that entrepreneurship is, if you compare it to athletics, it's not a 100-meter dash or 200-meter dash. Okay, entrepreneurship is more comparable to the marathon, the long distance races. Okay, because it's a lifelong venture, not something that you start and then you end almost immediately. It's something that you start and then you have to be involved in it for a very, very long time. Okay, so that's what entrepreneurship is all about. Okay, it's a lifelong venture because when you start small, the essence is to grow it as big as it can go and even to outlast it, to become a legacy that others will build on going forward. Okay, we'll look at so many of those kind of businesses, corporations that we have today that started very small, but you'll be surprised where they are today. Started very small on a very, very low budget, but today they are multi-billion, trillion dollars enterprises. You will not believe that those companies started the same way that you are trying to start your own business today. So these are some of the things that we'll be looking at. Okay. Right. So training outline. What's the training outline like? These are the various topics we'll be looking at. Defining Agsmeis, which is the very first one, its objectives, its components and processes of attaining its goal. Secondly, defining entrepreneurship, types of businesses and vocational skills, considerations before starting a business, 5 hurdles in the path of starting a business, small business, and then sources of funding for small and medium enterprises. So these are the topics, these are the issues we'll be looking at in the course of this paper today. Okay, so we'll go right away with and start with the Agsmeis, okay? The definition of Agsmeis. So we'll start by defining Agsmeis. What is Agsmeis? What is Agsmeis? What is Agsmeis? Agsmeis is an acronym. An acronym, of course, is a word that you form with the first letters of the words in a sentence. Okay, so for Agsmeis, Agsmeis stands for Agribusiness Small and Medium Enterprises Investment Scheme. Agribusiness Small and Medium Enterprises Investment Scheme. The AG stands for Agribusiness. Of course, SME stands for Small and Medium Enterprises. And then Investment Scheme, IS stands for Investment Scheme. That is what Agsmeis stands for. Okay? That is what Agsmeis stands for. So what is Agsmeis? How did we come about Agsmeis? Agsmeis is an initiative of the Central Bank of Nigeria aimed at supporting the federal government agenda towards the promotion of small businesses and small and medium agricultural businesses, they're small and medium enterprises as vehicles for sustainable economic development and employment. Okay, so here we're saying, we are giving the background, the origin of Agsmeis. Agsmeis started as an initiative by the Central Bank of Nigeria, and then the Committee of Bankers and NIPOS. They are the three owners of the NISA Microfinance Bank. NISA Microfinance Bank is a vehicle which these stakeholders use in running the Agsmeis program. Okay, the Committee of Bankers has 50% shares in the business in NISA. Central Banks has 40% shares, and NIPOS has 10% shares. NIPOS 10% shares is represented by the provision of office space for NISA Microfinance Bank in all of its branches across the country. Okay, so NISA was designed more or less to be like a rural banking institution. Okay, and that is why we have them located in each of the 774 local governments we have in the country. We have a NIPOS office, and in each of these NIPOS office, it is expected that there will be an office, a NIPOS office in such, a NISA microfinance office in such a post office. Okay, so that is essentially where NIPOS own 10% shares come in. But for the Committee of Bankers and CBN, they decided to come up with this idea of the NISA Microfinance Bank and Agsmeis loan scheme to support the federal government's agenda of towards the promotion of agricultural businesses and SMEs. This essentially is in support of the federal government's policy on diversification. The federal government wants to diversify the economy of this country. Mr. Gada is saying that he cannot hear at all, but he's not on the platform right now. We will be posting the YouTube. Okay, let's post the YouTube channel also, so that those who are not able to hear us on the Zoom can hear us on YouTube, can join us on YouTube. All right. So basically, the Committee of Bankers and Central Bank came up with this idea, initiated this idea of Agsmeis to support the federal government agenda of policy of diversification of the economy, the Nigerian economy. Okay, the Nigerian economy, we all know, is a mono economy, reliant and dependent, as it were, purely on oil, on the oil sector. Okay, and there is no way that the Nigerian economy can be sustainable, depending and relying, as it were, on only one commodity, as oil. We all know how volatile the oil industry is. Each time there is a drop in demand for oil, we know what happens to Nigeria's economy. And the worst situation we experienced was in 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic, which not only which was not restricted to only last year, but is still continuing to this year 2021. And at the heat of the entire challenge, what we found was that the oil sector was worst hit. We all recall that the entire world economy was shut down. All countries were in lockdown, and no economic activity whatsoever was taking place across the world. Okay, the major economic countries of the world were all in lockdown, just like Nigeria also was in lockdown. Okay, all business enterprises, all industries shut down. International travels, tourism, and all of those things that are the engine of many countries, engine of economy of many countries also were shut down. We saw pictures of tankers upon tankers of crude oil on the high seas that could not be delivered, okay, because no industry was working, okay. It's the oil sector, the oil, that drives most of the economies of the world, drives most of the industries of the world. But when the industries are not working, then of course it means that there will be no demand for oil also. And that is exactly what happened. We found that most of the OPEC countries, oil producing countries, were in serious jeopardy because they could not sell their stocks. Okay, because we found, as it were, that they could not deliver the oil in buyer countries. Okay, and most of these countries went into recession, just like Nigeria also went into recession. Nigeria went into its first recession in 2016. It came out of it, only to go back again into recession in 2020. We just came out of recession not quite 4 months ago. Okay, and if the situation persists with the lockdown and open up, going up all over the world, we might again run into similar challenges. And we all know the dire situation that the country faces today because of low economic activities. Okay, so for the federal government, the one way that it could overcome some of these challenges, and it had not just the current government, but all previous government had persistently been emphasizing the fact that Nigeria needs to diversify its economy. And which are these areas that have been identified as the most appropriate kind of businesses that Nigeria can go into in its quest to diversify the economy? The one singular area that was identified as likely options from oil is agricultural businesses and SMEs. Okay, so that is why the Committee of Bankers and CBN came up with the idea of the Agsmeis loan scheme. And the whole idea is that to set up a microfinance bank, that will be providing collateral-free loans to Nigerians who want to start their own businesses or who are in business and want to expand their own businesses at a very, very low, very favorable rate of giving out of the loan. First and foremost, the interest rate will be as low as possible. As of last year, it was 5%, but this year it has come up to 9%. It was going to be collateral free. There was going to be a maturity period of tenure of 7 years, okay, and then a moratorium of 1 year before you start the payment. Okay, so these are all very, very favorable terms for giving out of the loan. We all know that if you want to access loan in a commercial bank today, you'll be paying nothing less than 26 to 30% interest rate on that. And of course, you will need to provide collateral which is virtually equivalent to the amount of money that you want to get. Okay, so this makes access to finances, access to funding very, very difficult. But with the National Microfinance Bank set up under the Agsmeis loan program, the whole idea is that this loan, the National Microfinance Bank will provide this loan at very, very moderate and then amenable conditions that could be easily accessed and could be sustainable. That is the whole idea. That is what provided the initiative for the Agsmeis loan scheme. So Agsmeis loan scheme stands for Agribusinesses, Small and Medium Enterprises Investment Scheme, and the whole idea was initiated by the Committee of Bankers, the CBN, and NIPOST. Okay. right, so what's the objectives? What are the objectives of Agsmeis? First and foremost, to ensure small and medium enterprises and agribusinesses, of course, have access to finance. To ensure small and medium enterprises and agribusinesses have access to finance. Because as I just said, accessing finance is a major challenge of most businesses because the cost of finance is very high if you want to access finance in commercial banks today. Okay, so for you to be able to access finance, okay, the whole essence of the Agsmeis loan scheme is to be able to provide funds that are easily accessible and at very low interest rate and without collateral, as favorable as it is, okay, with a long tenure period, and then of course a moratorium that gives you opportunity to start the business before you start the process of repayment, okay, to generate the much needed employment opportunities in Nigeria. We are all aware of the unemployment situation in the country today. Today, Nigeria faces serious unemployment problem with over 36% of unemployment rate going currently. Most of them are young graduates who have graduated from universities, other tertiary institutions, are roaming around the streets looking for white-collar jobs, okay? And then because of the COVID-19 pandemic, as I did say, most industries were shut down. Most companies were not producing. Most of the businesses that as we know them stopped producing. Everywhere was in lockdown. Even banks that were, as it were, providing finances also shut down many of their branches. And in locking up their branches, they not only closed the branches, but also laid off the staff in those branches. So the whole essence of the Agsmeis loan scheme is that the young graduates who are roaming the streets looking for work, and then those who have lost their jobs as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and then the economic situation can be able to access this loan facility and then become self-employed, okay? And not only self-employed, but also be able to employ other people. It's expected that if you're able to access the loan of up to 5 million, you should be able to employ one person. If you're able to access the loan of up to 10 million, you should be able to employ 2 people. That is the whole idea behind it, okay? So to generate the more needed employment opportunities in Nigeria, to boost the managerial capacity of agribusinesses, small and medium enterprises as pipelines of growing enterprises that can become huge corporations. Here we are saying that at the end of this training, as I did highlight, the whole essence of the training is management training. Okay, how to manage your business, how to run your business. So at the end of this training, it's expected that you should be able to have the basic knowledge of managing your business. Like I said, this particular topic provides the background. Okay, we are laying the background for the training. Tomorrow we'll be looking at feasibility studies and business plan development. And then next day, we'll be looking at financial planning and basic bookkeeping. Okay, how you plan your finances, how you keep your books. Okay, because there's no way you run your business without bookkeeping, without management of the finances that come with it. And then subsequently, we'll be looking at sales strategies, okay, and effective marketing. How do you sell your products? How do you plan your sales? Okay, how do you market your products? Do you just produce and keep them on the shelf? Do you have market outlets to take them to meet the customers, or are there off-takers who come to buy off you by the time you produce? These are some of the things that at the end of the day, you'll be able to pick, be able to learn from this training. So that it provides, it's supposed to boost the managerial capacity of the participants in this program. That is what this program seeks to do. Finally, to develop agricultural value chain and ensure sustainable agricultural practices. Develop agricultural value chain and ensure sustainable agricultural practices. Not just the agricultural value chain, but even the small and medium enterprises value chain. Okay, when we talk about value chain in agriculture, for example, we're not just looking at agriculture alone, like in crop farming, because the tendency is when we talk about agriculture, we are looking at crop farming. But agriculture value chain entails more than that. It goes beyond just the crop farming. Okay, we're looking at not just the crop farming, but we're also looking at the implements. We're looking at the seedlings, all of the little facilities, the marketing component, the processing. These are the value chain. These are the entire value chain, the entire gamut. What kind of equipment are you bringing into agriculture? Okay, what kind of seedlings, fertilizers? Okay, the marketing of the products that come out of the market. Okay, the processing. When you market, when you produce, do you just sell as raw materials or do you process? Okay, there are those who specialize in every component of agriculture. Some will want to go into pure farming, into pure crop farming. Others will want to be involved in the business element, business side of agriculture, like in providing fertilizers, like in providing implements, like in providing seedlings. Others want to be involved in the marketing aspect, okay, like they become off-takers. They buy up the products and take to the market, local and international market. Then others want to go into the processing. As they are harvesting, they want to go to undertake the next stage, which is processing of the raw materials or the produce from the markets. Okay, if you're into rice, for example, it's not just the rice paddies that we produce and then sell directly to the market. You need somebody who goes into rice processing. Now process the rice paddies into rice, into milled rice, by polishing the rice, by destoning it, and then making it ready to be taken into the market. And somebody, of course, takes it off the processors into the market. So this is the entire value chain. The same also if you talk about small and medium enterprises. Each of it has its own value chain. And just like the agri value chain, we are also looking at the implements that go into these SMEs, okay? The processing component of it, okay? The capital components of it, the marketing of produce of these SMEs. All of these make up the value chain. So this the Agsmeis loan scheme tries to help you to develop the value chain of both the agri and then the SME sector of this scheme. So that is what it seeks to do. So anytime we talk about value chain, we are looking at the whole gamut of agriculture or the whole gamut of the medium and small enterprises. Right. Okay, so let's break down the components now of Agsmeis. Remember, we say Agsmeis is an acronym derived from agribusiness. Agribusiness is small and medium enterprises as a vehicle for economic development and employment. Okay, so let's look at the various components of the Agsmeis loan scheme now. Let's start with agribusiness, the AG component of Agsmeis, the agribusiness. In 2019, agriculture contributed 21.91% to Nigeria's GDP. This was surpassed only by industry at 27.38% and services at 49.73%. But at 2020, last quarter of 2020, when the NBS, the National Bureau of Statistics, released its statistics for the year 2020, we found that agriculture contributed over 30% to Nigeria's GDP. 30% to Nigeria's GDP. So although Nigeria depends heavily on the oil sector for its budgetary revenue, Nigeria is predominantly an agricultural society, with 70% of the population engaged in agricultural production. Okay, 95% of Nigeria's external earnings comes from oil. Over 70% of government revenue is derived from the oil sector. But when you look in terms of contribution to GDP, the oil sector contributes less than 10% to Nigeria's GDP. As at 2015, it contributed just 9% to Nigeria's GDP. At 2016, it was 8%. At the 2020 report, MBS report, showed that Nigeria's oil contribution to Nigeria's GDP stood at 8.6%. So when you compare it to agriculture that contributes about 30% to GDP, you find that whether we like it or not, is the direction to go. Though we know the volume in terms of revenue earning comes from oil, but in terms of GDP contribution, the difference is very, very clear. Okay? So that is why when you are thinking about diversifying the economy, when the government is thinking about diversifying the economy, it is looking in the direction of agri. Okay? So it is this trend, that's the trend of the contribution of agriculture to GDP that the government wants to leverage on with this renewed focus on the agricultural sector in an attempt to diversify the economy from oil. This is what also informed the current government effort and devoted energy to initiatives like the Anchor Borrowers Program and now the Agsmeis loan scheme. Basically, what we're saying here is that government has realized that the agricultural sector is a major contributor to Nigeria's economy, one of the main sales of Nigeria's economy. Even before the advent of oil, agriculture was the mainstay of Nigeria's economy. But with oil, we seem to have been distracted substantially. And Nigeria simply ignored the agricultural sector and went fully into the oil sector. But we find that each time there is a challenge, like I did highlight just now, with the oil sector, Nigeria's economy takes a dip. Nigeria's economy faces some basic challenges, okay? In terms of the recession, in terms of the need for other areas where the economy will be supported. That is the major challenge that we have. So what the government is doing today is diverting attention and concentrating on the agricultural sector. And that's why it has come up with other initiatives like the Anchor Borrowers Program. I'm sure you are all familiar with the Anchor Borrowers Program. The Anchor Borrowers Program is also another CBN initiative. But this time around, it is focused on rice production. You all know Nigeria's love with rice, to the extent that Nigeria became a net importer of rice. Most of our foreign exchange have been going into importation of rice. While doing that, we are empowering the economies of other countries. Countries like Thailand, like Myanmar, like Bangladesh, like Pakistan and India, okay, became the main sources of supply of rice to Nigeria. Nigeria's most of its foreign exchange reserve went into importation of rice. We became so nourished on foreign rice to the extent that we neglected the fact that we also have favorable conditions to grow our own rice. Nigeria used to produce its own rice to feed itself. But with the coming of the current government, it decided to ban the importation of rice and poultry products. And what happened was that in banning the importation of rice, because it decided that, look, this is an area that Nigeria can be self-sustaining. And one of the ways to encourage it was to come up with the Anchor Borrowers Fund, okay, where the CBN is providing very, very loans with very, very favorable conditions, repayment conditions to farmers. And of course, we know how that has changed the face of rice production in Nigeria today. Okay? States like Kebbi, states like Ebonyi State, states like Anambra, like Benue, like Lagos, are all into rice production today. Okay? Today, Nigeria is the largest producer, number one producer of rice in Africa, and the 8th largest producer of rice in the world. Most of the rice that is in the country today, most of the foreign rice that is in the country today are not imported, but smuggled rice, to show the progress that has been made so far in the area of rice production. Okay, just about 3 weeks or so ago, we saw the president commissioning about 200,000 bags of 50 kg rice in 13 pyramids in the northeast region. All of it rice produced from the northeastern region of the country. Okay, 13 pyramids of 200,000 bags of rice, each of 50 kg. Each pyramid had 200,000 bags of 50 kg bags. Okay, 13 of them. Okay, these were all produce of the Anchor Borrowers program of the CBN. Today, we find so many rice processing companies in Kaduna State, for example, in Kebbi, and many not Western states. Same also we find in Anambra State and in Ebonyi State. Nigeria today can become self-sustaining in the production and consumption of rice, to the extent that in no time, if we continue along that line, we also become exporters of rice to other countries in Africa, for example. And that is the direction that the government is going. Okay, and then so the Agsmeis loan scheme also is tailored along, designed along the path of the Anchor Borrowers program. But here it's not just concentrating on only agricultural businesses, but also on SMEs. Okay, so that is basically the position of the agribusiness in the Agsmeis loans scheme as it were today. Okay, so let's okay. The contribution, yeah, continue also. The recognition. This drive is a recognition of the contribution of agriculture to economic growth and development, in providing food for the expanding population, increasing the demand for agricultural products, providing local foreign exchange earnings for import of capital goods, increasing social income, in providing employment and improving the welfare of citizens. Let's see, there's somebody at the chat box. I'm in transit and will be out of network coverage. Kindly share today's modules or the session with me so I can read later. Okay, Eric, Eric, we got you, we heard you. At the end of the lecture, we'll be posting the slides, the PowerPoint presentation on the platform so that you can go through it. And then, of course, we are on YouTube now. We're on YouTube. We're on YouTube, and you can also watch the YouTube component also if you want to continue with that. So basically, we're saying here, the drive for agriculture, the drive for promotion of agriculture is a recognition of its contribution to economic growth and development. We know that if we continue on the path that we are going, diversifying towards agriculture, then of course, its contribution to the GDP then definitely will surpass the 30% that we recorded towards the end of 2020. Okay, and then of course, it's critical in providing food for our expanding population. Nigeria today has over 206 million people, and there's no way we can possibly rely on importation of the food that we eat in the country. No country relies on importation of food for its people. The moment you try that, then you are only exposing yourself to be ridiculed and to be brought down to your knees. Because food production is essential and critical. That's what we talk about food security. Each time you hear the government talking about food security, then of course you know it's because there is the need for you to be able to feed your people. Any country that cannot feed these people is only subjecting itself to serious challenges. The countries where you import the food from will only, at the end of the day, hold you to ransom by denying you the food that you rely so much on. And what you experience is famine, and then you'll be brought down to your knees and become a beggarly nation. So every country should be able to provide the food that its people eat. And it's a very, very important element that every country, every government seeks to achieve. Okay, so the promotion of agricultural businesses, apart from its component as sources of economic growth and development, is also important as a key factor in providing food security in the country. It also meets the demand for industrial products, because as we produce, the agricultural produce goes to feed our industries in terms of raw materials. Okay, it also, if you export those agricultural produce also, it earns foreign exchange for you. This foreign exchange that you earn could also be used in importing capital goods into the country, okay, which again goes to promote your industrial setup. Of course, it goes around to improve the social income. We know the number of people who are employed in our agricultural sector today. So many of the young men who roam around the streets of our country today have found their ways into farming in places like KB and the rest of the states. Okay, more and more people are earning the income from agricultural businesses today. It is providing employment all over the country today. It is a major source of employment. more and more people are going into farming, going into agricultural value chain activities and providing employment in that regard. And as of course the income levels are improving, so also the welfare of its citizens. So it is these gains that explains the need to support the growth and expansion of agri and agro-allied industries and its associated value chain. That is the whole essence of supporting the expansion of agri and the agro-allied industries. Okay, so we have looked at the first component of Agsmeis. Now the second component, which is the SME component. The SME component of Agsmeis. SME, of course, we all know stands for small and medium enterprises. So the SME sector is the backbone of major developed economies, as well as important contributor to contributors to employment, economic growth, and export growth. Economic and export growth. Not the word we are using here. We say the SME sector is the backbone of major developed economies. Is the backbone of major developed economies. Not developing economies, major developed economies. So what we are saying basically is that the developed economies of the world that we know, major developed economies of the world that we know today, like the US economy, the EU countries, China, for example, the SME sector is the backbone of their development. The SME sector is the backbone of their growth. How is that? Most of the corporations, the big corporations that we see and we know and see today, started as SMEs, and they grew to be what they are today. Here, I always like to give the example of Apple, the Apple company, the Apple Corporation. We all know of Apple. Each time we talk of Apple today, not many people's mind goes into Apple, the vegetable or the fruits. No. Apple, when you mention Apple today, you are talking of Apple computers, you are talking about the iPhones, the iPads, the iPods, the iWatches. All these are Apple products. Apple started with two individuals, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, in the garage of their parents as Apple Computer. It grew up to become Apple Computer, to become Apple Corporation, and today it's simply identified as Apple, which is a brand name for it, simply as Apple. So the moment you say Apple, everybody knows what you are talking about. Today, Apple is a $2 trillion revenue generating corporation. $2 trillion. Nigeria's economy, Nigeria's revenue, total revenue is about $486 billion. Compared to just one company, Apple, $2 trillion revenue base. That is where the difference is. And Apple started as an SME. So when you mention things like Microsoft, it's also started as an SME. When you talk about Facebook, also started as an SME. When you talk about Amazon, eBay, Huawei, all these started as small-scale industries, small and medium enterprises that today are major corporations and major world earners. And that is what the SME sector is capable of doing. So that is the direction that the Committee of Bankers of Nigeria also want Nigeria to take its own SME, the direction it wants Nigeria to take the SME sector into. According to the Nigeria SME survey by PwC 2019, in Nigeria, SMEs contribute 48% of national GDP. 48% of national GDP. That's the contribution of SMEs to the national GDP, compared to the oil sector that contributes less than 10%. The SME sector also accounts for 96% of businesses and 48% of employment. These are very, very huge figures. The same cannot be said about Nigeria's main source of income today, the oil sector. The oil sector's contribution is less than 10% compared to that of SME, which is about 50%. As at the 2020 survey, it rose up to 50% of the national GDP. Okay, so that is where the SME sector is in Nigeria today. SMEs in Nigeria constitute a total of 17.4 million enterprises. They account for 50% of industrial jobs and nearly 90% of the manufacturing sector in terms of enterprises. So you can see these are massive figures that we have here. They account for 50% of industrial jobs, 90% of manufacturing sector. When we talk of manufacturing sector in Nigeria today, we're not talking about the large-scale manufacturing that we used to be familiar with in Nigeria previously. You know, Nigeria used to have the auto industry, the car vehicle manufacturing companies like Peugeot, like Volkswagen, like Steyr, like Amanco. All these are folded up. Many of them have moved to Ghana. Nigeria used to produce all its tires, the Dunlop, the Michelin for these industries. All of them have folded up today. Used to produce all its batteries, its seat belts, car accessories. All of those have gone today. So when we talk about the manufacturing sector today, we are looking at the small and medium enterprises, the small businesses, okay, that produce things like maybe your toothpaste, your toothbrushes, and things like that. Okay, that produce some of the real minor things, not the major corporations that you used to know. If you go to the Ikeja industrial estate that we used to know it, where most of the major corporations in Nigeria were, today they have been taken over by churches. If you go to Kaduna, you go to Kakuri today, where we used to have all the textile industries, most of them are simply covered by bushes. I understand lately, motor vehicles have moved into those sites. Yeah? So that is the story of Nigeria. So it's the SMEs that is taking the position in manufacturing, in the manufacturing sector, and so they contribute as it were 90% of what we manufacture in Nigeria today. But that, of course, is not the large-scale manufacturing that we know, okay? But small enterprises that manufacture small things for the country. According to the NBS, the National Bureau of Statistics, in collaboration with the small and medium enterprises, the government agencies, SME, the SME sector in Nigeria is strategically positioned to absorb up to 80% of jobs, improve per capita income, increase value addition to raw material supply, improve import earnings, enhance capacity utilization in key industries, and unlock the economic expansion and growth. So 80% of the jobs that, when we talk about unemployment and all of that, if we're able to build the SME sector to where it's supposed to be, to the position where it's supposed to be, 80% of the jobs that we talk about in the country will be provided and can be provided by the SME sector. That is how powerful that sector can be if we are able to develop it to the level that it should get to. Because when we look at the number of people in paid employment working for Apple today across the world, we know that the kind of contribution it makes in terms of job creation all over the world. The same also can happen if we're able to develop our SME sector to the position where it is expected to be. Okay? So it is this potential which the government wants to explore and expand. But you realize that there exists a missing middle, which is that SMEs still find it hard to access funds. Which potential are we talking about? The potential of the agricultural businesses and then the SMEs. Okay, government has realized that there's a lot of potential in these two sectors. Okay, where it can now pursue the agenda of diversification. But it found that there is a problem, there is a challenge, which is identified as the missing middle. Missing middle, which is that, and the missing middle, of course, has been identified as access to funds, that it is very, very hard to access funds. So the Agsmeis loan scheme is government's own response and solution to the missing middle, where it can provide affordable and easily accessible funds to these vibrant and explosive sectors and with high potential to be the major backbone for Nigeria's economic development and growth. So the Agsmeis loan scheme has been identified as that solution to the difficulties in providing funds, okay? Where the Agsmeis loan scheme through the NISA Microfinance Bank will be able to provide easily accessible funds, easily accessible loans okay, to be able to grow these two sectors, to fulfill the aspiration of being a major backbone to Nigeria's economic development and growth. That is what the Agsmeis loan scheme is all about. That is what the Agsmeis loan scheme is all about. Okay? All right. So we have come to the end of the first section of this paper. So what we like to do is we'll open the floor in case you have any questions you want to ask, so that you can ask your questions, and then before we continue with entrepreneurship, we're looking at entrepreneurship. So we'll open the floor now, and then we'll welcome your questions. Okay. Too cold, mix. Okay, you can unmute your mic. You have any question? You ask your question. You can unmute your mic now. If you have any question, please go ahead and ask. How many of us are left in the class? Three of us. Others keep coming and going. Mr. Adeyomo, you have any question, please? You can ask now. You can unmute your mic and ask if you have any question. Madam Rita, Madam Florence, you have any questions? If you have any question, please go ahead and ask. Okay, Rita, no question from your side. Mr. Adeyemo, you were raising your hand earlier. Mr. Adeyemo and Florence. Okay, if there's no question, then we'll go back and continue the class. All right, so we'll go back and continue. Yeah, hello?
Yes, good afternoon, sir. Sorry, this is Rita again.
Okay, Rita.
I have a small question.
All right.
I was wondering. Yes, I just thought of something else now.
All right,
yeah. I was wondering if it's possible to still access this loan if you have already collected one of the other previous ones. You know, there are loans that are given in smaller amounts, 400,000, 700. If you've already accessed that, are you still eligible to access this?
Okay, that's like the COVID palliative and all that?
Ah, yes.
Yes. Yeah, did they collect your BVN? Did you provide your BVN to them?
Yes, they did.
They did? Okay,
yes.
So they will match it. I think they will match it if you, unless maybe you have paid back. If you pay back, then of course they won't. But if you haven't paid back the full value, then they might not give this current one. That's my thinking. I don't know for sure.
Okay.
But that's our thinking. Yeah. So
okay.
If it's small loan like 400,000, you can repay that one so that you'll be able to get the big one. I think it's still
okay.
working. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, Mr. Adeyemo, you're on now. You can unmute if you have any question. We can't hear you. Unmute your mic. You can unmute. Okay, you're muted. Okay, unmute your mic.
Hello.
Yeah, okay.
Hello, sir.
All right, that's Florence. Florence, you are gone off. Yeah, go ahead, Florence. We can hear you now.
Which question they ask?
Say when who get question to ask, make he ask.
Florence, we can hear you now. Are you in another class?
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you. Are you in another class?
Yes. I want to ask a question.
Go ahead and ask.
All what you people have been doing, in fact, I've been sidetracked. I've been like somebody just moping because my connections are not true yet up to now. But my neighbor here, her own is true.
Yeah, her own is true?
Yes, but my own, I can't even do I can't go into the system and get what I really need, like putting my Gmail and all that. I'm finding it difficult.
Okay, you can join through the YouTube now. You have YouTube connection. Check the WhatsApp platform. You see the YouTube connection. You can join us on YouTube.
Through the WhatsApp?
Yeah, okay, check the WhatsApp. You see a YouTube connection. You see a link for YouTube.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. I'll put out from that.
Okay, so you can join. If you can't join us on Zoom, you can join us through YouTube. You will hear us on YouTube.
Okay.
All right. Any
so
other
like
question?
Yes. Like the person that does not have WhatsApp, well, we have someone like that with us. How can that person?
She doesn't have WhatsApp? Huh? Hello?
Be able to cope like their own. So how is she going to?
She doesn't have WhatsApp?
No.
No Android phone.
But
she doesn't
know.
Is she registered for the program?
No.
Yes, sir, she did. I paid for her.
Okay. Does she have a laptop?
Nothing like that. She has a toy phone.
So how are we going to do this one now?
We were told that we should not bother about that. When we were registering, we asked all these questions. They said we should not bother about that the person should just listen to what we are doing there.
And then fill her
phone for her.
Through my email.
Through the email.
Okay. She's with you there now, is she not?
Yes.
Is she not hearing me as I'm talking now?
She's hearing.
She's hearing.
She's hearing?
Yes.
Okay, so it's okay now. You can share facilities with her now. If you have a laptop, all of you can connect. We'll be hearing each other just here as you people are contributing now.
Okay.
And then of course there is the quiz. You people can do the quiz also. She can do the quiz. Okay.
Thank you.
How many of you are there?
We are 3.
Yeah. We are 3. Okay. All right. Are you in worry?
I said, brother.
Yes. We are in worry.
We are in worry, sir. The same place.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right then. Well done, man.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. So we'll continue now. If you have any question, we'll stop again after a little while so that we can continue.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we'll continue now with
you not join this class. Senior criminals. Yeah.
All right, so we'll continue now with what is entrepreneurship? What is entrepreneurship? Can somebody help me by defining what entrepreneurship is all about? Can you go to the chat box and then help me define entrepreneurship? Rita, can you help me do that? Sademo, are you still around? Help me define entrepreneurship. We'll take 2 minutes and then somebody to define entrepreneurship for me. All right, I'm waiting for the definition. What's entrepreneurship? No suggestions coming up? All right. No suggestion, that will continue. What is entrepreneurship? You're all into one form of business or the other now, isn't it? You all want to start a business, or you already are running a business. Okay? Then of course, you have a purpose for the business. You start it anytime anybody starts a business, it's for a purpose. Most times it's not for charity. Most times it's not for as a social enterprise. Most times it's for the purpose of making profit. Okay. Of course, then you want to invest your money. You want to take a loan to invest your money. There are risks involved. And then of course, you are ready to take the risk. Okay, to be able to run the business, to be able to make money. Each time you do a thing like that. All right, somebody has responded. All right, Rita has said it is setting up a business for profit purposes. Good. All right, that's good. I hope it's. I hope nobody has gone to Google it up. All right. Any other contribution? Any other contribution? Rita has helped us setting up a business for purposes of making a profit. Yeah, like I was saying, all of you are into one form of business or the other now, or you have the idea of starting a business. And then of course, you want to start that business for purposes of making profit. So you are willing to take a risk. Okay, you are willing to take all the challenges that come with it for the purposes of making profit. So each time you start a business, each time you establish an enterprise, okay, for the purpose of making money, making profit, you are doing what is called entrepreneurship. You are engaging in entrepreneurship, okay? The moment you establish a business, you run a business, you are involving yourself in entrepreneurship, okay? Entrepreneurship is the process of starting and running a business enterprise. That is the clear definition of entrepreneurship. That's a simple, straightforward definition. Process of starting and running a business enterprise. Anytime you start a business, you are running a business enterprise, you are into entrepreneurship. It involves investing capital. Capital, of course, we all know is money, in resources like people. People are resources. In the development of products and services to create viable commercial enterprise. That is entrepreneurship. So each time you invest money in people to produce some items or services, then of course you are engaging in entrepreneurship. It is the capacity and willingness to develop, to organize and manage a business venture along with any of its risks in order to make a profit. So that's what we just said basically. That's what Rita also just said, that it is the ability to, and then of course to willingness to develop, organize and manage a business with the purpose, sole purpose of making a profit, but then ready and willingness to take the risks that come with it. Because anything that you want to do, any business that you want to do, you want to engage in, okay? If you are successful, there are profits to be made. You'll make money, you'll make profit. But along the line, you have to take certain risks, okay? Like they say, no venture, no profit. So you have to venture into something. You have to take the risks that come with it to be able to make profit. That is entrepreneurship, okay? Each time you indulge in start a business with the purpose of making profit and you're willing to take the risks that come with it, that is entrepreneurship. So the most obvious example of entrepreneurship is starting of new businesses. Each time you start a new business, you are involved in entrepreneurship. And then what of entrepreneurial spirit? When we say entrepreneurial spirit, this is characterized by innovation and risk taking. And this is an essential part of a nation's ability to succeed in an ever-changing and increasingly competitive global marketplace. What we're saying basically here is that across the world, nations across the world are in competition for the global marketplace. The world is a global market, okay? I'm sure you keep hearing it. When they talk about globalization, globalization means that the whole world is one large market and everybody wants a part of that market. He wants a pie, he wants a chip of it. Everybody wants a little bit of that market. So most of the competition that you see going on in the world today, okay, is driven by the entrepreneurial spirit of innovation and risk-taking, so that you can be able to get a little share of that market, because the global market is massive, okay? So the competition we see going on between the US and China today, all of it is a competition because they want a share of the global market, okay? The Western world see China making incursions into Africa. They see China coming into Africa and helping African countries develop their aviation sector, helping them to build airports, resuscitate their railway lines. You see that happening in Nigeria today. Most of airports are being built by the Chinese, the railway lines are by the Chinese. Okay, so the Western world are seeing all of those things. And then they are also coming in, trying to make sure that, look, China doesn't corner this African market to itself alone. But what China has done is that it has noticed that the Western world that colonized Africa, most of Africa, have virtually abandoned Africa because of the debt situation. And then, of course, all of our facilities and infrastructure have gone down. So they have come in and then they are trying to support Africa to resuscitate this. By resuscitating it, of course, they will become more productive. And as they become more productive, China will be able to come in and buy up most of the goods they want and then bring in most of their own products also. You know, China is a very, very vast market today. Most of the things happening in Nigeria today, most of the products coming in Nigeria today are coming in from China. Most of our business people today are no longer going to US and America, US and UK and the rest of Europe. They're heading to China. So that is where the challenge really is. Everybody is struggling to get a little pie of that of the international market. And it's not just the Western world and China, even in Africa here, we see the same kind of competition going on. We see Dangote with companies, with over 12 cement companies in all over Africa. Okay, we see Glo and competing with MTN. MTN is a South African company trying to get a huge chunk of the Nigerian telecom market. Glo, of course, competing with it in Nigeria, in Ghana, in all of those places. We see Nigerian banks today virtually taking over the whole of the West Coast with their various branches. Okay, not too long ago, about sometime last month, a bank in Nigeria bought one of the largest banks in South Africa. Okay, one of the largest banks also in Kenya was bought up by a Nigerian bank, by Access Bank. Okay, so that is how nations compete. And it's not the nations, but the citizens of this country. So what the nations do is to provide the cover, provide the protection for their indigents, for their citizens who are now in all of this international market, struggling for their own share of the international market. That is the entrepreneurial spirit. The entrepreneurial spirit is about innovation, about risk-taking. So as you are innovating and you are willing to take the risk, that's how you'll be able to succeed in getting your own share of the global international market, because the world is a global market. Okay, we helped in decolonizing South Africa, getting South Africa out of apartheid. But unlike what happens in the Western world, where you free a country, you liberate them, and then you take over their economy, our own is a reversal. We succeeded in liberating South Africa from apartheid, but we found that South African companies have virtually come up and taken economic limelight in Nigeria today. Okay, you see MTN all over Nigeria, you see DSTV all over Nigeria, you see ShopRite all over Nigeria, you see Spa all over Nigeria. These are South African countries. Ordinarily, it's Nigerian companies that should have moved into South Africa, taking over their economic high points, but unfortunately, the reverse is our own case. But then our entrepreneurs are doing the best they can also by taking it back to them and seeing the areas where their entrepreneurs are not being able to fill the gap, and then trying to fill the gap in those areas, like in the cement industry, where Dangote is doing very, very well in most of these areas, and then the banking sector, where our Nigerian banks are also doing very, very well. So that is the entrepreneurial spirit. Okay, so who is an entrepreneur? Who is an entrepreneur? Those of you on this program, will you call yourself entrepreneurs today? Yes, of course. You are all entrepreneurs. An entrepreneur is a person who takes the risk of investing his money, his time, passion in development of a business or several business enterprises. All of you, I want to believe, want to set up or involve in one business or the other, or want to set up one business enterprise or the other, okay? And then if you are willing to take the risk of investing your money, you want to take a loan now, for example, for NASA Microfinance Bank. If you are giving that loan, the fact that you want to invest that loan, the risk of investing that loan, your time, your passion to develop your business makes you an entrepreneur. That's who an entrepreneur is. One who takes the risk to do a business. No matter what the risk is, he's willing to take the risk to be able to do that business. Okay, another interpretation, another definition that I really like is the one by this Reid Hoffman. Reid Hoffman defines an entrepreneur as someone who jumps off a cliff and builds a bridge and builds a plane on the way down. Jumps off a cliff. You all know what a cliff is. You can see the picture here. A cliff is a high mountain, a high mountain with a river with deep edges, and then maybe water flowing under it. Okay, so anybody that can jump off that cliff. Okay, so this one is literal. Okay, so any business you want to do is like jumping off the cliff. It's like taking the risk of jumping off a cliff. You know, if you fall under that, from that hill into that river, the chances of survival is slim. But if you jump and before you get down or on your way down, you are able to build a plane or achieve your goal or achieve your purpose, you are an entrepreneur. That is a very extreme definition of who an entrepreneur is, but that is what an entrepreneur does. The singular fact that you are willing to take the risk to jump off a cliff and then succeed in doing what you want to do, you are an entrepreneur, okay? That is an entrepreneur. That is a very, very extreme definition of an entrepreneur. But the Wright brothers, you can see the Wright brothers, the picture here. You might not know, but this is how the aeroplane that we fly today, that is how it started. And these are the people that started it, the Wright brothers. These two gentlemen, they are brothers, senior and junior. They are the people who started the aeroplane as we know it today. And what they are sitting inside and what you can see on the right side, these are how our aeroplane today, the aeroplane that we know today, that is how they started. They believe that, look, that it is possible to build an aeroplane, to fly from point A to B, to be able to fly long distances. When they started it, people laughed at them and said, it's not possible. Now, how can you build a heavy object with metal to fly in the air? And they say it wasn't possible. They started laughing at them. In fact, one of them got so annoyed and left the US. They were based in the US around 1903, 1904. One of them left the US around 1904 and moved to France to continue with his aspiration. But that is how they started. The first time they succeeded in flying the plane for just 59 seconds. It lifted from the ground for about 856 feet. Lifted from the ground for 59 seconds, not even a minute. And they celebrated it. When they told people, people denied, that scoffed at them and said it's not possible, that they couldn't possibly have flown that contraption which they created. Okay, but they kept at it. They never gave up. They were determined. At the end of the day, you and I are beneficiaries of the aeroplane that they conceived, okay, that they visualized, that they developed. And today we have the jumbo planes that can carry you from Nigeria to UK in 6 hours, to the US in 8 hours, fly from California to Hong Kong in 24 hours, can even take people all the way to International Space Center or the moon or to Mars and all of that. All of the idea that we know about flight today, about aviation today, started with these two gentlemen. So they are the typical people that Reid Hoffman had in mind when he defined an entrepreneur as someone who jumps off a cliff and builds a plane on the way down. Okay, the Wright brothers, Neville and his brother, were able to do that, to start the plane as we know it today. On the screen also you see a gentleman here. I don't know how many of you know him, but his name is Elon Musk. Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a South African, but an American today, South African American today. He is the founder of SpaceX. SpaceX is an aeronautic engineering company. Aeronautic engineering company that builds rockets, to go into space. Just 2 days ago, one of his rockets took people to the International Space Center in orbit, okay? the first set of people that went were his own. They are still there. They should be returning. Maybe tomorrow or thereabout, coming back to Earth. The other 4 went to replace them. Okay, so that is his own aspiration to build. What he intends to do is to build the rocket that can take people to Mars, to go and live in Mars. But in between, he is building a rocket now to take people on vacation, like tourism, to space. Okay, and now he's filling the gap that NASA, the American government, used to provide in taking people to International Space Center, where they carry out experiments about the world, the planet, and the cosmos. Okay, but he is directly involved in all of those things. He is also the founder and owner of Tesla. Tesla is an electric car. Okay, because of issues of carbon emission, climate change, and all of those things, the world is moving away from fossil oil, from vehicles that are driven by fuel, by petrol. Okay, the vehicles that we know driven by petrol today, they are trying to phase them out and introduce electric cars. So Elon Musk has developed a car that uses electricity, that is driven by electricity. Such cars do not generate carbon monoxide. Such cars do not generate the carbon emission that we know it today. If you have visited Ghana or India before the COVID situation, they have started wearing face masks in those parts because of carbon emission. Because every time you go there, you find the environment very, very smoky and cloudy. And why is that? It is because of pollution from the cars the people in those countries drive, and because of their industrial activities. So because of all of those kind of emission, the atmosphere there is always choking and clouded. Okay, but the world is talking, and that all these things are contributing to what we call climate change today. That's why we have all manners of extreme weathers today. The flooding that we experience all over the world. Okay, the heavy rains in some parts of the world, the heavy storm that we experience, sandstorm and all of that, all these are a function of climate change. And what is causing this climate change is the carbon emission. There's so much carbon in the atmosphere, so it's depleting the carbon, the ozone layers. And as the ozone layer is being depleted, the world is heating up, and it's affecting all over the world, affecting the weather condition all over the world. So people like Elon Musk are trying to do something to change that narrative. Okay, BMW. I'm sure you are familiar with BMW cars. They also say by the year 2030, 80% of their cars in Europe will be driven on electric cars. They won't use fuel anymore. So in Nigeria today, we have a problem because we all, like I said earlier, we all depend on oil for our economy. But now that people are trying to move away from the use of petrol to use of electricity for cars, it means that the market for oil in the next few years will be very, very limited. We'll run into problems. So when we talk about diversification of the economy from agriculture from oil to agriculture and SME, this is what it directly means. That because in future, by the year 2050, that's like 30 years from now, most of the vehicles, most of the cars on our roads in the world will no longer be using fuel. So our fuel will be useless. So the earlier we begin to divert from fuel to agriculture to SME, the better. I'm sure you all have heard about Dubai, the UAE. Dubai also started as Nigeria, depending on oil. But today, oil contributes less than 5% to Dubai. Their main industry now is in tourism, marketing, industrialization. That is what they are into now. That is where their mainstay is now, no longer oil. And that's the kind of thing that we're also looking at doing in Nigeria, diversifying to agriculture and SME. So these are the lessons that we need to learn, and very urgently too. Okay? So who is an entrepreneur? Who is an entrepreneur? We've given these definitions. An entrepreneur is any individual who starts a new business venture, he arranges the business deals, and takes the risk in order to make a profit or social change. So all of you on this program now, you are all entrepreneurs because you want to start a new business or a new company, okay? And you are ready to arrange all the business deals and you are ready to take all the risk, but then at the end of it all, to be able to make profit, to be able to make money. So that makes you an entrepreneur. Any business that you start, okay, that you make money, that you make profit, that you face all the challenges, the risk, you are willing to take that risk, makes you an entrepreneur, okay? What does an entrepreneur do? What does an entrepreneur do? An entrepreneur identifies a need that no existing business addresses and determines a solution for that need. This first sentence captures everything that an entrepreneur does. You want to go into a business now. Maybe you want to go into bakery. Why do you want to go into bakery? Because you find that in your environment, in your community, or in your whole town, the town that you are, maybe there's no bakery. So you know that there's need for bread. People need bread for breakfast, okay? You know how children love bread. And then in your whole community, there's no bakery. You have to bring it from maybe another town, 1 hour, 2 hours away. So you identify that there is a need for that business, and then you set up your bakery. That makes you an entrepreneur. That's what an entrepreneur does. He finds that there is a need that needs a solution and provides that solution. The example I always like to give, if you come into a community, you come into a town, and you find that people in that town, they drink their water from the river, from a stream in that river. It's that same river that people carry their cows, these cattle herders take their cow to drink, to pee inside, to pull inside. It's that same river that people from the village go to fetch to drink, okay, to bath, to wash. Of course, you know that would mean they constitute a lot of health hazard. The kind of diseases that people in that environment will have, of course, cannot be underestimated, cannot be understated. Okay, people within that environment are most likely going to be falling sick on a regular basis. So you come to that kind of a community and you see that one happening, and you say, how come nobody has come to set up a portable drinking water business here or provide borehole here? And then you now decide to sink a borehole in that environment to provide water for the people. You decide to do that either to sell the water by providing several tap here so that people can come and bring bucket and fetch water and then pay small money for it, or you decide to make a bottled water making company for me, or sachet water. All that one is a solution. You have identified a problem and then you have provided a solution. You have seen a problem and you provided an answer. That is what an entrepreneur does, okay? So that is the bottom line, all the things that we have written there. That is what an entrepreneur does. Anytime you come into, you see that there is a vacuum, there is a gap, and you fill it, that's what an entrepreneur does, okay? So let's look at some examples of successful entrepreneurs. I've given the example of Steve Jobs earlier. Steve Jobs, I did say Steve Jobs and his friend Steve Wozniak. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, they are the people who started the Apple company, the Apple computer, okay? The Apple that you have, some of you in this program, for example, have maybe Apple computer or you have Apple iPhone, okay? Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, they were the people who started the Apple computer. And they started it in the garage of their parents as an SME, as a small business. But today, the Apple company, as I said earlier, is a $2 trillion company. Its revenue per annum is about $2 trillion. Nigeria as a whole, our total revenue per annum is about 468 billion. And one company, the Apple company, contributes like $2 trillion. So comparatively, a whole country and then just one company. That's Steve Jobs and his friend Steve Wozniak. Then Bill Gates, that's the creator of the Microsoft company, Microsoft founder. He's one of the wealthiest people in the world today. Elon Musk was the person I was just talking about just now. Elon Musk, he's the founder of SpaceX, an aerospace and rocket manufacturing company, and then Tesla, the electric car and solar product company. I've already described that one in detail, what they are into, how they are supporting, providing all manners of businesses and products to the world today. So that's the picture of Steve Jobs on the left. We lost him, he died in 2011. He's the owner, the founder, the co-founder of Apple, the Apple company, Apple Computers, we know it today. And then of course, Bill Gates. Bill Gates is the founder and owner of Microsoft. Any computer that you use in the world today, you are likely to find a Microsoft product in it. He also started as an SME in the garage of his parents. When he was starting, he approached IBM. IBM is the international business machine. They are the manufacturers of the kind of computers they call mainframe computers. Mainframe computers are so large, they could occupy a whole floor in a building. Now, when Bill Gates was coming up with the idea of Microsoft, he approached them and said, look, he has a vision that we can produce a computer, a microcomputer that can be placed on a desk. And that in the next decade, he wants to see Microsoft computers on the desks of every family, of every office in America and in every home. The people in IBM laughed at him and said it was not possible and rejected him. He was not deterred. Like the Wright brothers, he was not deterred. He went about his business, and today, IBM is a regress. One of the greatest regrets of IBM today was that they did not bring Bill Gates on board to join the company to help them produce the microcomputer that he talked about. Because today, like Bill Gates predicted, within the decade, there were computers on every desk in America and in every home. Today, the computers are no longer on our desks, but in our hands, like the Android phones and Android this year carry. They are all computers. That's what they are basically. It's just that they combine the function of phone and then computing services. That is the vision of people of SME, people who have vision, okay? Then, of course, the young man on our picture now, he's Mark Zuckerberg. I'm sure many of you are on Facebook today. Mark Zuckerberg was the one who founded Facebook. And that one, he also started in his dormitory, Harvard University dormitory, as a student, okay? As a teenage student at the time. He's just about 34 years now, okay? But within 5 years of starting Facebook, he has had over 500 million users. Today, there are over 600 million users and revenue of over $6 billion on a yearly basis. And somebody are just under 34 years of age, okay? So that is what entrepreneurs do. These are examples of successful international entrepreneurs. What about back home here in Nigeria? You can see on our screen, these are our own entrepreneurs also, and very successful ones at that. On the far left is Tony Elumelu. We have Adenuga, we have Dangote, we have Otedola, and then we have Madam Awoshika. Okay, all these are Nigerian entrepreneurs. Tony Elumelu, we know, of course, made his fortune in banking, building a very towering career in banking, and today he has gone into opening other entrepreneurial ventures in Transcorp, in Hairs, and then, of course, promoting entrepreneurship, but supporting young Africans, providing them seed money to go into entrepreneurship through his Tony Elumelu Foundation. Dangote, of course, we all know him. He's Africa's richest person with vast interest in cement, in sugar, oil and gas, and a whole line of businesses. Okay, okay. So this Tony Elmelu's foundation is supporting entrepreneurs. Like I said, on a year-to-year basis, he brings young Africans from all over the countries in Africa, where they come to share notes, compare notes about what they are doing, the innovation they are coming up with, and then he provides them seed money ranging from about $5,000 to $20,000 for them to go and then pursue their ideas. The hope is that in the next 10 to 15 years, this will be the people that will take over as African entrepreneurs. Okay. Then, of course, we have on our screen here another gentleman. I don't know how many of you know him, but I want to believe that many of you are using his phone today. He's Nnamdi Ezigbo. Nnamdi Ezigbo is the CEO and founder of Slot Nigeria Limited, and then the co-founder of Techno and Infinix phone, hand phone, the phone brands. I'm sure you're all familiar with Techno and Infinix. These are purely Nigerian phones. It's the fastest selling mobile phones in Nigeria today, okay? Competing with iPhone and Samsung and all these international smartphones, okay? Nnamdi Ezigbo started, like most young Nigerians, seeking after his NYSC, looking for white-collar jobs. When he couldn't find it, he joined a computer repair shop as an apprentice. When he finished his apprenticeship, he started his own company. In the course of doing that, selling computers and repairing computers, he also went into selling of cell phones. In the process of that, he found that so many people that came to the shop had 2 or 3 handsets, cell phones in their hands. And he thought about it, he said, why are people carrying so much burden of handsets around the place? Why can't we produce one phone that will have dual SIMs? And that's how the idea came up. He, like Bill Gates, he approached Nokia and said, look, this is the idea that I have. People are carrying so many handsets at a time. Why don't we build a handset with dual SIM so as to reduce the number of phones that people carry? But the Nokia people said, no, we'll go ahead, continue producing our handsets, because with more handsets we sell, the more money we make. So Nnamdi moved on to another young Chinese guy who had just left his work with a cell phone making company. And then, of course, dropped the idea with him, and that guy bought into the idea. And then, to cut the long story short, they started producing Techno with dual SIM. And then, of course, eventually moved into Infinix, which is another version of this SIM. And then the whole target, of course, is the low-income people in Nigeria, and then, of course, across Africa, because the phone is very functional. It has the functionality of every smartphone, and then it's relatively cheaper than the iPhone and then the Samsung. So that is what Nnamdi Ezigbo was able to do with the Techno company. So that is entrepreneurship. Okay, you see a gap and you fill it. That is what an entrepreneur does. Okay. All right. 4 types of entrepreneurship. Here we say Forbes, but actually the person who originated this idea is called Job Abrahams. Job Abraham came up with types of entrepreneurship. He wrote a book on entrepreneurial DNA. Okay, the DNA, we all know the DNA, the human DNA. The DNA is the genome. The genome is what differentiates all human beings. There are no, every individual has a different kind of gene that makes up his composition, that is composed of. No 2 genes are the same. No 2 genomes are the same. No 2 individuals are the same. Not even twins. Okay. So Job Abrahams also identified that there are no 2 entrepreneurs are the same. They are driven by different kind of motivations, different type of DNA. Some are builders, some are innovators, some are specialists, some are opportunists. Okay, the builder, for example, the entrepreneur with the builder's DNA, for example, believes in building empires and big infrastructure. Empires and big infrastructure. Companies coming out of South Korea, for example, like the Samsung and all of those things, they are driven by builders. Here, when you hear a company like Samsung, you think Samsung is just a cell phone company, but it's not. It's bigger than that. You find that Samsung, apart from being a cell phone company, is also a household. It's also a household company. It's also into shipbuilding. So most of these large cruise ships that you see, large oil tankers that you see, are built by most of these companies in South Korea. The innovator starts a business because of his passion for innovation. Okay, somebody like Mark Zuckerberg that I just showed you, his own interest is in innovating, in creating new things. It's not so much the money that drives it, but in innovation that brings about change or improve the human being, the life of the human being here on earth. That is what drives an innovator. Okay, the passion for innovation, for building new things at any given point in time. Then the specialists. The specialist believes in expertise. He's an expert. He believes in expertise. He brings expertise into everything that he does. Okay, somebody like Bill Gates, for example, who came up with the idea of the Microsoft company. Okay, for a very long time, he was the world's richest person. He has moved out of Microsoft today, but because of his expertise, he has moved into medicine today. He has moved into medicine today. Bill Gates today is involved with the production of vaccines. Okay, with many of the companies involved in the production of the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, he's involved in that. He was the one who helped Nigeria and many African countries and Afghanistan and Pakistan and those countries that are afflicted with polio to come out of the polio pandemic. Nigeria, for example, used to suffer for a lot of poliomyelitis cases, but today Nigeria is polio-free, and it's on account of the kind of work that Bill Gates and his people are doing. Then the opportunist is represented by somebody like Nnamdi Ezigbo, who saw a gap and then decided to fill it. Okay, the opportunist sees an existing gap and then provides a business to fill that gap. I gave the example of somebody who comes to a community and finds the people drinking water from the pond or from the stream, and then decides to build a borehole. That is an opportunity. He sees the gap and then he provides and fills that gap. So these are the 4 types of entrepreneurship that we have. Okay. So, but why do we emphasize this in this training? We like to emphasize this because as entrepreneurs, you are coming into entrepreneurship. We want you to identify what drives you. What kind of DNA drives you? Okay, what kind of genotype, genome drives you? Are you an innovator? Are you a specialist? Are you a builder? Or are you an opportunist? Okay, if you are able to identify the kind of genome that drives you, then of course you know the kind of business that you go into. You know the kind of business that you pursue. You know the kind of people that you bring around you. You know the kind of strategy that you adopt. You know the kind of things that you want to go into and produce. So we want to sensitize you that it's important that you identify the genome that drives you, the DNA that drives you, so that you'll be able to know the kind of business that you go into. Okay? All right. All right. So types of businesses in Nigeria. Okay, there are different types of businesses in Nigeria. Each time we present this component, really, many of you come to this program with a business idea in mind. But down the line, by the time we present the various type of businesses that are available, most people tend to move away from the earlier ideas that they have. Okay, so there are different types of businesses that an entrepreneur can consider going into in Nigeria. Okay, these are the kind of businesses, various types of businesses that we have. I don't know which one you guys are interested in, but there are various types, from fashion to farming to small scale manufacturing to catering, buying and selling, not just buying and selling, but buying and selling and then adding value to it. Not just going to the market and buying clothing, for example, but buying clothing that you develop into dresses, that convert into dresses, that's adding value. That's the kind of buying and selling that is supported by this program. Invest management, animal husbandry, school businesses, photography, hospitality, eateries, restaurants, that's catering we talked about, photography, publishing, dry cleaning, cosmetic, and then beauty services, health services. All these are various types of businesses that people can consider going into. They are very, very viable businesses and quite things that are very, very sustainable. Because if you go into any of these lines of businesses, you can be sure you always find the market. Then the vocational skills that also people can consider acquiring, or setting up institutions where people can be able to acquire these skills: electrical, plumbing, carpentry, masonry. One of the challenges that we have in Nigeria today is the acquisition of vocational skills. You know, the construction industry in Nigeria is very, very vast. If you're in a place like Abuja, for example, a city that for the next 50 years is still under construction, but when you go to most of the construction sites, you find that most of the vocational skills in these locations are not Nigerians. Okay, most of them are from the west coast of Nigeria, Benin Republic, Togo, Ghana, and places like that. They are the ones you find doing most of these electrical works in the country today. Why? Because most Nigerian young men are not willing to go into it. Okay, or where they are willing to go, they are not readily available. So if you can set up a vocational skills acquisition institution, of course, you will be able to help a lot in filling the gap of the paucity of the dearth of these available vocational skills in the country. So these are things that our participants can consider going into to be able to improve the stock of business that we have in the country. All right, before we go to the next set of section of this paper, which is things to consider before going to business, we'll open the floor once more so that if you have any questions you want to ask, you can ask the questions from where we started on entrepreneurship to the vocational, to the types of businesses before we consider. So questions, welcome. You can unmute your mic and then you ask a question before we proceed.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
My name is Adeyemo.
Yeah, Mr. Adeyemo, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. I want to commend you for a very good job.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, you are a teacher. I'm sure you are a teacher because you've been this has been a superlative performance. And I really enjoy the 4 brands of entrepreneurship. But don't you have situations where you can have a collage of 1, 2, 3, or even 4, I mean a hybrid of even the 4 types of entrepreneurship? Because I see myself as a hybrid of the 4 entrepreneurship. Because I read economics in school, first degree, but today I'm into tourism, I'm into creative arts, I'm a media person, I'm a PR person. I mean, except figures, I don't have a head for figures. But I take job that involves figures because I have friends who are chartered accountants. So don't you have a hybrid of all these entrepreneurship specializations? Is it not possible?
Well, you've called yourself, you identified yourself as one already. But like I said, this one is right from the book by Job Abrahams. Job Abrahams, of course, did say that every entrepreneur is driven by a different DNA. So just like you have your DNA, that we have the human DNA today, so also do we have entrepreneurial DNAs. And he identified 4 DNAs. He identified 4 DNAs in an entrepreneur: the innovator, the builder, and then of course the innovator, and then the specialist. Of course, you can have a hybrid of it, but then there's one that definitely supersedes the other. There's one that provides more tendency.
That is dominant.
That is more dominant than the other.
Yes,
and that's the one that he wants you to concentrate on. Okay? That's the one that he wants you to latch on and then concentrate on and build on, because that's where your strength is. Your ability to be able to identify where your strength is and build on it is what he wants you to do. Okay, so it's not ruling it out, but then of course there's a dominance somewhere.
Okay, so it's not cast in stone. You know why I say that? I was a businessman. You know, I was into business, but I found out just making money, you know, does not guarantee happiness. You understand what I mean?
No,
so I now came across a saying of Henry Ford that says, if all you make from your business is money, then you are a poor person. So about I'm sure you know that quote.
Yeah, sure.
So 20 years ago, I had a chance meeting with somebody who was in tourism and creative arts, and he brought me into it. And I found that I was really enjoying it, even though I wasn't making more money like I was in business. But I found out I had the passion, creativity, you know, it unlocked the creativity in me and the passion, and it has taken me around the world because I enjoy traveling, right from my childhood. But now that I'm getting a little old, I'm not too old, I'm not yet 60, but I find out I need to build a financial legacy. So that is why I want to come back to real entrepreneurship. Maybe I will still do the things I do in the creative sector and tourism, but I mean, build a financial legacy for my children. So you're very good. I really enjoyed this. I'm a public speaker too, but I must give it to you. You're a good one. You're a good one, sir. You're a good one, sir.
I appreciate it.
All right, sir.
Thank you.
Once more, my name is Omo Badekunle Adeyemo.
Nice
meeting you.
Yes.
It's a pleasure.
Yes.
I like it to be from 10 to 12. We are 12:08. So I mean, these have kept me up for 2 hours. So
We'll soon be rounding up. You know, we
Yeah,
didn't start by 10. We had to do the quiz and all that.
Yeah, I think I did the quiz. They said I scored 80%. They said I scored 80%. I want to know the two I missed. They said I scored 80%.
When you check, when you go through the sheet, you'll be able to see the ones that you missed.
And the ones, and then I want to apologize again. I'm a politician. You understand? So you find out people, you know, had you Tinubu for president, Buhari must go, Buhari. So when I saw it and there wasn't any right or nobody was talking to me, I exited immediately. So I must apologize for that. It's very unlike me. You understand? I must, but I think by tomorrow, later today or tomorrow morning, you should be able to add me back. It will go because when you exit, you can't add back immediately.
Yeah,
so I would like to
try it, and each time we try it, it says you have exited and you can't come back. Or we try it and see it.
Please help me try it again because I will. It's a happy family and with somebody like you, and I'm sure it's going to be very good, very all right.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very
much. Can I still pay for some people? Because somebody paid for me. How much is it?
The training is 10,000 naira. Business plan is 10,000 naira.
That makes 20,000.
20,000. That's right.
So if I want to bring anybody, hope it's not too late to bring people in?
No, it's not. It's not. This is the first lecture. We'll have only a lecture a day, so they can continue tomorrow.
So whoever missed this can go and listen to it at the YouTube.
YouTube, sure.
Okay.
And then we'll have the hard copies. These hard copies you are seeing on the screen, we'll also download it on the platform.
Okay. Will you be giving us hard copies?
It's online. It's on the WhatsApp platform. You can download it if you want. And then
okay, and print. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
All right, sir.
Please kindly add me back to the platform later in the day or tomorrow morning.
We'll do that. We'll do just that. All right. Any other questions for anybody? Moody, Florence, and her group. Florence and her group. Rita, any questions? Or do we continue? Okay, if there's no question, we'll continue. All right, then, so we'll continue. All right, things to consider before going into business. What are the things you need to consider before going into business? First and foremost, the question you need to ask, is there a demand for the business? Is there a demand for that line of business? That's an important question to ask. You don't come into an environment, a community, and then just because you see maybe a friend or your colleague running a particular business somewhere, and you think, if I start in this community, it will also be successful. You might run into problem, okay? Many businesses fail simply because the entrepreneur says a business and sold products and services people don't need. So you have to be sure that people need the products that you want to sell or the services you want to provide, okay? Or some people set up a business that produce also products and services that people want, but they cannot afford. The example I gave about the person who set up the borehole, for example, people within that community, they want clean pipe-borne water or clean borehole water. But one of two things will happen. If the person that set up the borehole chooses to sell it as sachet water at 10 naira per sachet or bottled water at 100 naira per bottle, then the people within that community who might not be so well to do might not be able to afford that water. But if it sets up the borehole and then sets up several tap heads where you can bring a bucket and then fill the bucket and pay 10 naira as compared to 10 naira per sachet, of course, you find that people within the environment can be able to afford it. So in setting up your business, make sure that it's something that people within that environment can be able to afford, okay? Then you need to ask questions. You also need to ask questions. Are there other people doing similar business, or are you bringing something new to the table? Are you bringing something new to the table? Or you just simply want to come and join the crowd by producing whatever kind of business you want to go into? For example, if you come to an environment, I talked about bakery earlier. You find that, of course, there's already a bakery in that community, and then you come and set up another bakery. You might run into a problem unless there is something new that you are bringing to your bakery business. So it's important that you are able to determine that, look, yes, this business already exists in this community, but I'm going to bring something different, add something new to it, okay? If you're starting a business in an area where the market is already saturated, the business might fail, as you might find that you'll be struggling. That's basically what's going to happen unless you are going to introduce something new. So it's important that you do some research and find out areas where the competition is not properly serving the customer, and then position your business to fill that gap. That's an important thing that you need to do, okay? As an entrepreneur, you have to work hard to differentiate your product and bring something different to the market that no one has ever seen. That is your unique USP. Your USP is your unique selling point or unique selling proposition. Okay, finding out something that makes a business stand out is critical for the survival of an enterprise. Here, I like to give the example of the dairy industry, for example. We all know, I'm sure we've all heard about pig. We all know pig milk in Nigeria. Pig milk is the most popular brand of milk we have in Nigeria. It's been there from the 60s to date. Pig milk has dominated the Nigerian market for so long, and no any other company has been able to challenge it for a very long time until 3 Crown milk came into the market. And what did 3 Crown milk do? 3 Crown milk came into the market and decided to introduce sachet. We all know that the pig milk is in tins and then evaporated. That's liquid, okay, and sold for like 50 naira per can as at that time. I'm sure it's more than that now, okay. And then of course, what 3 Crown milk did was to introduce sachet milk, powdered sachet milk, into the market and sold at 10 naira per sachet, compared to the 50 naira per tin, which pig milk was selling. Of course, if people of low income who did not have refrigeration system always had a problem with pig milk, because if you open it, then you are sure that you have to use the whole milk that day. If not, if you have to keep it overnight, then you must have refrigeration. Okay, if you don't have refrigeration, there's a problem. But for the powdered milk you can use and then simply fold it and keep and then use the next day without it spoiling. But that is not the situation with it. So before the world knew what was happening, the powdered sachet powdered milk became the most dominant brand of milk in the country, because it was like meeting the expectation, the challenges of the low-income earners. Those who could not afford the pig milk of 15 naira per tin could at least afford the sachet milk, the powdered sachet milk of 10 naira. And that became their main selling point, their unique selling point, became 3 Crowns' unique selling point. And in no time, it became the most dominant type of milk in the market, to the extent that today, even pig milk and the other types of milk that we have in the market have also gone into sachet and powdered milk in the country today. And today, for the first time, we also see milk companies, dairy companies coming with powdered canned milk. Okay, all of this is as a result of the innovation by 3 Crown, the 3 Crown milk. So, for you to make a difference in your product, you should come with your own unique selling point. Find something that differentiates your own product from what exists already in the market. That is going to be a survival strategy in the market. That is what 3 Crown did, and that's how he was able to break the monopoly of pig milk today. Today, pig milk was also taking the cue from 3 Crown and decided to go into that line of business also. All right, other things to consider before going into business: determine what needs are out there. What are the needs that are out there? What businesses exist to satisfy those needs? Okay, if there's no business currently satisfying those needs, it means that no one maybe has thought about that line of business, or maybe there's not enough market for you to set up that business for it to become viable, or that the cost of carrying out that business might be too expensive within that environment. So you need to determine what the needs are out there, and then why no businesses are there to meet the needs that are obviously within that environment, okay? So it's important. So how do you determine what the needs are there? How do you determine what the needs are? You ask questions, okay? You'll be surprised by what you find out, and when you ask questions, administer simple questionnaires which people can respond to, or use the social media to get feedback from prospective customers. And social media is the most vastly used source of means of communication today, and it's a major source of getting feedback to their products. Look around and observe what's happening. That's what people like Bill Gates and then Steve Jobs were able to do. Okay, so these are important things that you need to look at. All right, barriers. What are the major barriers before starting a business? When we were starting this topic, I did say that anything that we do in life, anything that we want to go into, you are likely to run into one form of barrier or the other, one form of challenge or the other. Okay, when you want to start your own business, that is the kind of thing you are also most likely to meet. What are the barriers? What are the main barriers that you might run into if you want to start your own business? First and foremost, money. Money is a major challenge. Money is a major obstacle when you want to start your own business. Okay, exactly how much do you need? Where are you going to get it from? These are things that you need to determine. Okay, because this is what you all require before you start a business, and that's why you are in this program today, because you want to access funds, you want to access money, you want to access loan. That is a major barrier that most people who want to start business run into. Okay, lack of knowledge. Many small businesses fail, not for lack of capital, but because entrepreneurs have little knowledge of that line of business. Okay, for some people, it's not money, but the lack of knowledge of the business they want to go into. You want to go into some particular business, you see somebody doing it successfully in another environment, in another community, but you want to also start it, but you know very little about it. So that could be a challenge for you there. So you need to read vastly, you need to acquaint yourself, or you need to go into some kind of get some kind of education, enlightenment about that line of business before you go into it. Okay, when are the peak and low seasons for that line of business? What sudden change in environment can affect the business? One of the major challenges that we have in Nigeria today is that of policy changes. Policies continue to change as rapidly as you can possibly think about. Today, the government is coming up with one policy position. The next day, it changes. Not too long ago, just like government banned the importation of rice and poultry products, it also banned the importation of maize. Okay, and so many people went into the banks and collected loans and went into maize farming. Okay, so as to be able to meet the demands of poultry farmers. Okay, while they were going, that was ongoing, poultry farmers came up and started shouting that they were having problems of feeds for their poultry, for their beds. Okay, and the government overnight just changed its policy and opened up the market for importation of maize. Those that went to collect loans for the maize business found that when they started harvesting, they could no longer be able to match those that imported the maize. The cost of maize brought in lowered the price of maize in the market, and they were not able to break even to be able to pay back their loans. So these are things that we have to be very, very cautious about when we want to go into business in Nigeria. Areas of taxes, not too long ago, of course, we found the VAT was changed from 5 to 7.5%. Stamp duties were moved from 5 to 6%, and all of that. So all of these are things that we need to be very, very cautious about when we want to go into business. Will the business be able to generate cash immediately, or will it sell on credit? These are things you want to. If you want to sell on credit in this country, then of course you are likely to run into problem, because most people that are going into business selling on credit, getting their money back has always been a problem. Okay, most people who go into buying and selling and give people out money on their products on credit are not able to ever recoup their money from those that buy from them. Very few people are able to pay back. Are the products perishable? These are things you need to determine. If you are into farming, things like tomato farming, for example, then of course they are perishable things, then you have to know the kind of things that you have available, preservatives, refrigeration, and the like, before you are able to go into that line of business. Okay, how long does it take to produce your goods? Will you be able to meet your ability to meet your customers' orders? If your line of production line takes too long, okay, the turnover takes too long, then of course they are likely to run into challenges. So these are things that you have to have at the back of your mind before you start your business. Okay, determination. One of the challenges that most people who go into business have is lack of determination. Like I said, there's every likelihood that the moment you go into a business, you might face rejection, just like Bill Gates faced rejection from IBM. Okay, you might fail at your first try. But if you are such a person that the moment you face this kind of challenges, rejection or failure, you put your hands on your head and decide that, no, you have given up, then you are not going to go far in that line of business. Okay, so for you to succeed in business, you must show the courage of a bulldog. You must show a lot of determination. Where you are failing, change strategies, find new solutions to the problem that is confronting you, and then forge ahead. Be consistent, be persistent, be unwavering. Okay, because if you want to go the whole hog, then of course you should be ready to face rejection, face challenges, face failure, but then show the commitment and the resilience to go ahead. If not, you are going to be to face a major problem along the way. Fear, our greatest enemy. Fear is one of the greatest barriers to people starting a business. The question they ask is, what if I fail? What if I make a fool of myself? What if I'm rejected? And people say no. So what? If you fail, you are the one who has failed. It's their business, okay? They say time heals. Tomorrow, nobody remembers that you started anything like that. But I mean, if you fail the first time, try a second time, try a third time. People like Thomas Edison, for example, who created the electric bulb, tried 11 times until the 12th time before he succeeded in building the filament that became sustainable. Because of that, today, we have the electric bulbs today. Bill Gates, I've given the example of Bill Gates and IBM. When Honda started in Japan, the Japanese people laughed at them and said there was no way they would be able to make it. But today, Honda is one of the top brands of vehicles that we have in the world. The Wright brothers have given the example of the Wright brothers. Because of their persistence, their resilience, and then their determination, we are all beneficiaries of the aeroplane today, because the Wright brothers were not deterred when they were scoffed at when they had their initial crash. Okay, so that is one of the things that we need to do. Fear is a major challenge for us Africans and Nigerians. We have not been able to overcome fear. Fear is a major challenge that Africans face. We haven't overcome fear. While the Western world has overcome fear and able to send people to the moon and to the space, the African still has not been able to overcome fear. We are still living in fear of superstition and all of those things. Okay, we fear the dark, we fear everything that has to do with our environment, with our community. Here in Abuja, we have the Zuma Rock. Up to today, no Nigerian, no African has scaled the Zuma Rock. But some people have come from abroad to climb the Zuma Rock. Okay, the second set of people came not too long ago to climb it's using another route from the one a previous explorer used. We have built a five-star hotel beside Zuma Rock, but up to today, nobody has occupied it. That place is in wrecks today because of fear and superstition. Okay, so unless we are able to overcome our fear, we will not be able to go far as a people. And that is a major challenge that you are likely to face if you are going into business. Lack of support. Here we find that many small businesses lack support in critical areas that they require. In funding, for example, few financiers are willing to support them. You have friends and relations who are well-to-do, but when you approach them with your business idea, you are most likely not going to get their support. Okay, even if you see them buying new apparel, new vehicles, building new houses, but when you say, give me money to start a business, you are not likely to find that. Legal and regulatory support. That's another area also where people starting businesses find challenges. We know that the government is doing all it can about ease of doing business, introducing new measures to reduce the various steps that we have is registering companies in the country, compliance requirements and things like that. But it is a major area of challenge. Today, the CAC, you are able to register your business online within 24 hours, even without the support of a legal person. All of that is a function of effort being made towards the ease of doing business in Nigeria today. In the next few days, by Thursday or thereabout, one of my colleagues will come to take us on business law, and he will be able to expatiate on this area. But it's one of the areas that most people who want to start business are not able to find the support they require. Okay, staying power. Staying power, of course, is like determination. Most people, the moment they face one or two challenges, they easily give up. So it's important that we don't give up. Okay, entrepreneurship is not a quick rich strategy. It's a marathon, like I said earlier. It's something that we have to remain on and then continue to pursue unwavering, okay? That is what it is. Sources of funding for small businesses. What are the sources of funding for small businesses? Okay, there are various sources of funding. Loan is one of them. That's why most of you are on this program today. Okay, but the other sources are equity. We have grants, we have cooperative loans, and then we have crowdfunding. So let's look at them one after the other very quickly. Equity. Equity, of course, is an investment made in the shares of a business. Okay, it is made with the understanding that an investor will be able to get a return on the investment and appreciation of the capital. Anytime you go to the stock market, for example, and buy shares of a company, you are buying equity into that line of business, okay? That is what equity is all about. The moment you are able to buy shares of any company, of any business enterprise that is coming up, of course, you have bought an equity into it. Equity is good because it's a long-term kind of investment, and it gives the entrepreneur the opportunity to be able to build that company to a stage of maturity where it becomes profitable before you now begin to pay dividends on those that have bought shares into that line of business. That's what equity is all about, okay? So where do we get equity from? Equity funding comes from various sources. It could come from savings, it could come from partners, investors, and family. Savings, of course, we all know what savings are all about. We look at it one after the other. Savings are supposed to be money you set aside from the little resources that you have, for either your salaries or for your business that you do. Savings are, of course, not easy, but it takes a lot of efforts, discipline, and all of those things, sacrifices to be able to put money aside. If you're on a minimum wage of 30,000 naira, of course, you know that it's a major challenge for you to be able to save anything. Is it 5,000 you will save? Of course, if you want to be able to do something in future, you have to set something aside. Saving, of course, is a major source of equity, difficult as it is, requiring discipline and sacrifice. Okay, partners, these are people who believe in what you want to do and can decide to come and buy equity in your business, bring in their own savings, and then contribute towards that line of business, so that at the end of the day, they'll also be able to benefit for it in the form of dividend payment. Investors, those are people who put their funds into something in order to get money in return. That's the same, of course, as equity. Angel investors, these are wealthy private individuals who invest in business in exchange for some equity. Angel investors are not necessarily people that might be known to you, but they are people who maybe have had your ideas, seen the kind of business that you want to go into, and could choose to come in and contribute their own equity, their own funds into it, and then help in mentoring you, in guiding you, in helping you until you achieve success. And in the course of that, when it becomes profitable, you are able to pay them some dividend from the business. Those are angel investors. They are at the background supporting people with new and fresh ideas. Family and friends, of course, these are some of the main sources, usually the first source of investment for most young people who want to start their own businesses. Most young people who want to start their businesses always start from their family members. They approach their parents and tell them, look, I have this business idea. Can you come in and bring in this kind of money so that I invest and start the business? And then approach their friends who contribute, and then they start their line of businesses. And then, of course, it's from there before they now start moving out to other commercial sources of funding. So these are the sources of equity. Loans. Of course, loans, that is why we are here. Okay, loans are business money given to an entrepreneur to finance or purchase an asset or the recurrent expenditure of that business. Loans can be interest-bearing and non-interest bearing. In the interest-bearing, the borrower and the lender agree on the rate. The loan is tenured for a specific period. At the end of the tenure or at maturity, the borrower must pay the loan to the lender together with the interest that has accrued. The type of loan that we are trying to assess today, the Agsmeis loan scheme, is interest-bearing loan. Okay, between you, the borrower, and the lender, the Nasa Microfinance Bank, you have to agree on the rate. The rate is 9%, and then of course the tenure is 7 years, maturity period is 7 years, and then of course there is a moratorium of 1 year, and at the point of maturity you have to return the entire money. Okay, that is the interest-bearing loan. Then there's the non-interest-bearing loan, which is based on Islamic principles. Here, you are able to borrow money from banks like Jaiz Bank, like Taj Bank, which are based on Islamic principles, but it's interest-free. Okay, so what they have their own mode of sharing the profit that comes out of it, and then if there is a default, of course, they sell the business, and then they have a way of also sharing the proceeds that come out of it. Those are non-interest interest-bearing loans based on the Islamic principles. Okay, where can loans be accessed from? Loans can be accessed from banks, can also be accessed from partners. Okay, grants. Grants are funds given to small businesses by donor organizations. Usually the donors do not retain any interest in the business. However, to ensure that the money is actually being used for the purpose intended, the donor will set up processes to ensure the project is properly implemented. Here, grants are not monies given to you to pay back. They are mostly to support a project which the donor agencies have belief in. Most instances are social enterprises projects. And for most of these grants, many of them, of course, do not come even in monetary forms. They might come in the form of equipment, in the form of advisory, and when they come in the form of finances, they are such that they pay for those items upfront, and then you are provided with the equipment that you require to run the business. That is because of lessons learned in most instances. Okay, of course, we have donor agencies, donor organizations, international donor agencies, and then some are based on foundations, on wealthy individuals who are able to give out those loans. Some of the popular donor agencies we have in Nigeria, organizations like the DFID, for example, the USAID, they are able to provide most of the grants that we require in this country today. Sources of grants in Nigeria. Here are some of the sources of grants. Sme, DFID, Shell, LifeWire funds. Shell LifeWire is provided by the Shell Development Company. That's the international oil company that operates mostly in the Niger Delta area. They've been able to set aside funds providing grants to young men and women in the Niger Delta area who are interested in starting their own businesses. Most of these people really, the intention is to pull them away from joining gangs and groups who are into militancy, destroying oil assets in the creeks, and then causing a whole lot of pollutions and a whole lot of challenges in that region. That way, they are able to provide funds and resources to people who, many of whom have been able to build their own businesses and helping their communities and families. Etisalat Easy Business Million Grant, the T.Y. Anjuma Foundation, Bank of Industry, MTN. All of these various sources of grants in Nigeria today. Cooperative loans. Cooperative loans are very, very popular in Nigeria. Cooperative societies are very, very popular in most organizations in Nigeria. Almost any organization you go in Nigeria today, you find a cooperative society existing. These are brought together by individuals, by members of staff and individuals in the organization who come together, okay, to be able to see how they can be able to support themselves mutually. They contribute their money from monthly salaries and other sources, and then build up funds which they use in supporting individuals or buying things which they share to members of the cooperative, or providing loans for people who want to start their own businesses, who want to maybe buy cars, pay school fees, or pay rent and things like that. That's what cooperative society is able to do for people in most of these organizations. So they are a veritable source of loans for people today. Cooperative societies, most of them started from the western part of Nigeria. One of the most popular ones actually grew to be a major bank in Nigeria today. And most of them, even today, grow to become microfinance banks. So cooperative loans are very, very popular among people in Nigeria. Crowdfunding. Yeah, these are lots of our sources of funding. Crowdfunding is a new innovation based on fundraising through the internet. Okay, people who have ideas post it on various social media platforms or the internet and pitch those ideas and sell the products or sell the idea. And those who are interested in that line of business are also able to pay money into that line of business for them to be able to benefit from it. Or when the business becomes profitable, they are able to gain some things in the form of dividend payments to them. There are so many of these major companies, companies like Forever Products, who are basically based on crowdfunding ideas, the AIM Global, Alliance Global, the Philippine-based company that's making a lot of inroads in Nigeria today. And the whole idea really is that one of individuals coming in and introducing downlines, and then of course buying products of the company, things like supplements, medical supplements, and a whole lot of household items and equipment. And then as you buy, you are able to also sell and make profit, or as you bring in people, introduce people who come into the business, you are able to, they become your downline, and then you are able to make some benefits and then earn some money in the process of introducing people who come in and buy. So those basically are the concept of crowdfunding. Of course, crowdfunding comes with its own challenges. We've had cases of the MMM that turn out to be Ponzi schemes. So when you want to go into things like that, you have to be very, very cautious and then do your own due diligence before you commit your money to crowdfunding initiatives. So that is come to the end of our paper. I want to thank you immensely for spending the better part of your day with us. We say it's a 2-hour paper, but I see we're done. Yeah, okay, close a little bit more than the 2 hours, but if we take the time we took for the quiz, it comes to basically the same 2 hours. So thank you very much for spending the better part of your day with us. We'll open the floor now for the last run. If you have any questions you want to ask, you ask your questions before we close for the day so that we can let you go pursue your other businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Hello?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I can hear you, sir.
Yes, yes. You have done very well. I'm very impressed. More power to your shining elbow. The picnic example, yeah. I think it was cowbell and not 3 Crown. It was cowbell that blazed that trail. I think it was cowbell in Apapa. It was cowbell and not 3 Crown. 3 Crowns came much later. It was cowbell. You can do your research again. Yeah, you can check. You can check that. So that's my only observation. I think it was cowbell.
We'll check, because the information that we have when we got that information, it was 3 Crown.
You can cross check again. It was cowbell.
Okay.
Cowbell.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Any other question? Moody, Florence, Rita, Florence and Fatima gone. Yeah, Moody, you are unmuted. Let's hear from you. Your shadow is a little bit faint. Are you behind a screen?
Yes.
You're behind a screen. You're behind a screen now.
We can't see you.
All right, go ahead, Moody. Talk to us. Yeah, Moody, go ahead. Talk to us.
Yeah, so I really
your line is cracking. Go ahead. Go ahead. Hello, Moody. All right, you can type in the chat box if you can't. Yeah, Modi, are you typing something? I'm muting again. Listen. Hmm? You muted yourself? Okay. All right. Any other question? Rita, any question? Okay, in the absence of any other question, we'll close for the day. If you have any question, you can, of course, reach us on the platform, and then we'll respond to any issue you raise. So let me thank you immensely for spending the better part of your day with us. We'll continue the class tomorrow again at this same time, from 10 in the morning. My colleague will come in to present the paper on feasibility studies and business plan. And then subsequently, that's how we'll continue till Friday. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day ahead of you.